Good day, Father Matt Williams here in my parked car on this rainy day. Chrism Tuesday in Boston. I hope you're well. We're on Book 4, Chapter 1, and this Book 4 focuses on receiving the Eucharist, and Chapter 1 is with how great reverence Christ is to be received. So the reverence that we ought to have when we receive the Lord. You know, he goes through some beautiful scriptural images of how God's holy people prepared to receive the Lord, or how they prepared for movements of the Lord in the Old Testament. And he uses this to give us some things to think about how we should be prepared to receive him in Holy Communion. First off, he talks about, before all that, he recognized the fact that the Lord says, come to me, right? Come to me. So Jesus in the Eucharist is always saying, come to me. He wants us to draw near. So the God of the universe is contained in this little host, right? The God that the universe cannot contain is contained in this little host in space and time, and he says, come to me. So how should we come to him? Should we come to him lukewarm, or should we come to him like prepared with great reverence, awe, and love? So he goes like this. He looks to the story of Noah, and he says, Noah, a just man, labored 100 years in building the ark, that with a few might be preserved. And how shall I be able in the space of 1 hour to prepare myself to receive with reverence the maker of the world? So just as Noah took all this time to build the ark to prepare for the coming of the Lord and the way that the God was going to rain down so that a few would be saved, how much more should we take 1 hour to prepare to receive the Lord? He goes on and talks about Moses, right? Moses, your servant, thy great and special friend, made an ark of incorruptible wood, which he also covered with the most pure gold, that he might deposit therein the tables of the law. And shall I, a corrupt creature, presume so easily to receive thee, the maker of the law and the giver of life? Again, Moses took great care to create the Ark of the Covenant that would hold the law, the tablets, right? How much more should we prepare our hearts to receive Jesus in the Eucharist, right? Next. So good. Solomon, right, who's the son of King David. Solomon, the wisest of the kings of Israel, employed 7 years in building a magnificent temple for the praise of thy name, right? So the Lord dwelt in the temple. They took 7 years to build the temple, right? The beautiful place where the holy name of God dwelt in power, and they would offer the sacrifices in the temple, right? He says, for 8 days together celebrated the feast of the dedication thereof. He offered 1,000 victims as peace offerings. Think of it, 1,000 like goats and bulls and things like that, slaughtered, and the blood splattered, right, smeared, in order to offer sacrifice, atonement for their sins, right? Peace offerings, and brought the Ark of the Covenant in a solemn manner into the place prepared for it, with sound of trumpet and jubilee. He says, and I, now referring to ourselves, a wretch and vilest of men, how shall I bring thee into my house? Who can hardly spend 1/2 hour devoutly? And would I had even once spent 1/2 hour itself as I ought. So in other words, all these wonderful things are done to prepare to house the Lord, like the building of the temple. And can we even just take a little time, a 1/2 hour, to prepare ourselves, or any amount of time to prepare ourselves to receive the Lord worthily? Kind of makes you think, huh? He says, oh my God, how much did they endeavor to please you? Alas, how little is what I do. How short a time do I spend when I prepare myself to communicate? Just think about that. Isn't that cool, though? Like all these examples, because what's he trying to do? He's trying to enkindle in our hearts Eucharistic amazement, awe and wonder, inspiration, that God comes down to us in the Eucharist, that when you go to pray in the tabernacle, he's there. When you go to Mass, he's there. That we should like not be lukewarm and take it for granted like we're taking a piece of gum, but that we should have Eucharistic amazement and be in awe and wonder of the true presence of Jesus in the Eucharist. He goes on to give this little example. He says, imagine if rather than Mass being celebrated all over the world and all priests that can offer the Mass, imagine if there was only one priest in one place where in the whole world where the Mass was celebrated. And imagine if like you had to prepare for an annual pilgrimage to go to this place. Say it wasn't even say it was in another country, right? With what reverence, right? And what devotion you would prepare yourself to undertake this pilgrimage, this journey to this sacred place to encounter the priest who offered the Mass and to receive the Lord worthily, right? Think of all the work and what we would do to encounter the Lord in this way. And yet we have the Lord available to us in all of our local parishes where we have Mass celebrated, and how we can take that for granted and get used to it. So today it is all about Eucharistic amazement, awe and wonder at Christ's true presence, and how you and I are going to prepare in a worldly way to receive the Lord next time we go to Holy Eucharist. God bless you.